Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Lisa Martin with Silver Spring Town Center. We are so happy to have Mariam Memarsadeghi here presenting Swim to New Waters in the studio with artist Mariam Memarsadeghi. Welcome, Mariam, and all her many fans who we have here gathered. Mariam Memarsadeghi loved to make art as a child in Iran. She relishes walking and driving to take in sights and has always been a doodler. Her abstract paintings are rooted in the natural world of wildflowers, woods, streams, oceans, big skies, and mountains. They can also evoke futuristic space voyages and dreamscapes. Pencil line drawings are a regular feature. Her works are heavily saturated with color and are often inspired by childhood whimsy. Most are a combination of both drawing and brushstroke. And she's showing us as we talk. I'll bring her on. Hey, Mariam. Most are a combination of both drawing and brushstroke, with some pieces featuring mixed media and paper collage. Mariam studies with abstract artist Calvin Edward Ramsburg at the Delaplaine Arts Center in Frederick, Maryland. She grew up in Frederick after migrating to the US from Iran when she was 7 years old during the 1979 revolution. Her father and many of her father's friends are architects with a love of art. Mariam has worked for over 20 years on international democracy and human rights programming. She writes and organizes for democracy in her homeland. And now, welcome, Mariam. So happy to have you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much. And thanks to the town of Silver Spring, Maryland, for having me as Artist of the Month and for this opportunity to talk with you all. Thank you for coming, showing up, and thanks to those who may watch this program later in its recording. So I'm going to show you some of my work and talk about my work. And I thought it would be great if you all felt free to ask your questions in the chat, but also to, to talk on video here. And some of you may be artists yourselves. And of course, I would love to hear about your work. So as Lisa mentioned in the intro, I was born in Iran, lived in Iran until I was 7 years old, came to the US then about 6 months after the start of the Iranian Revolution. And as a child, I really took refuge in art. And I think that's, I was thinking about things before tonight's session, and I thought I would emphasize that it's been my place to go for release, mindfulness, to come into my own thoughts, and that's been consistent through my life. However, there's a real big gap of about 20 years where I really wasn't producing much art at all. But even in all those years where I was really busy with my human rights, democracy work for Iran, I would doodle all the time, every day, all the time, every day. And I had notebooks and notebooks of doodles. And here's a piece that is very, very much like my doodles. So you can get a sense of how it's a lot of sort of architectural line work, pencil drawing kind of work. I'm sorry that the lighting is not great. Maybe that is a little bit better. So I use Reeves BFK paper almost always for everything I do. And I do a lot of pencil line drawings before I get started. Even when I'm doing paintings, the paintings are all different sizes on Reeves BFK. This is pretty much the largest that I do, but I do have a big roll of Reeves BFK, which is larger than that, which I'm thinking of using for very large pieces now. So I started with no colors, so you get a sense of how I'm very oriented towards pencil and line, and it sort of is the backbone for a lot of what I do. like I said, for about 20 years, I really wasn't doing much of anything other than my work. And so when I started up again, Calvin Edward Ramsburg at the Delaplaine in Frederick, Maryland, was really, he was a big liberation for me because he's a wonderful artist, but more importantly, as a student, he really knew how to help me to develop my own style. And this is one of my early pieces starting to get going again. I know a lot of people do PowerPoints. I'm sorry. I'm doing this so you get a little bit of a sense of how it looks. And this is on a pad of paper that I had from about 25 years earlier. And this is using a palette knife and moving paint around. I realized that with every kind of painting that I did when I was starting up again, oh, very important piece of information. This was my class coincided with the start of COVID. The first class I took with Calvin Edward Ramsburg at the Delaplaine. So it was a process of discovery and release coinciding with a time when all the world was really shutting down. So as I'm sure you've heard about many other artists, even though COVID was a very difficult time, creatively, it was an opening. So the other day, just a few days ago, I was hanging out with my nieces, and we like to do artwork together. And this is just super regular, like paper that you put through a printer. And that's what my niece had. And she had Caran d'Ache wax pencils that you can dip in water. And that's what I did there. And the reason I wanted to show you is because for me, art is about doing things anytime, anywhere that I can. I got a little hole through that one and I got a hole through this one. But the important thing for me is that in that moment, we were able to have a really pleasant conversations surrounding our art and really let go and enjoy each other's spirit. So I have hundreds of these, and Lisa, I'm just going to make sure that we don't have people waiting to be let in. Thank you to friends and family and people who've chosen to come. I really appreciated it. So like I said, I have hundreds of these pieces, and they're all on Reeves BFK. And one reason I really recommend paper, and Reeves in particular, is that if you have hundreds and hundreds of paintings, in the end, they're just one stack, and they can fit into a nice, secure cupboard or closet, and you're good to go. You know, it's very different from canvas. So this is personally one of my favorite pieces. Again, I'm sorry that the color doesn't come through very well, but and one of the reasons I like it is, you know, aside from how it looks in the end, it's something where all along the way it looked terrible, and all of my pieces really are about failure on top of failure on top of failure until I get to a place where I feel like all of a sudden there's this sound, and there's this big sound, and I'm hearing it. And after that, it's a matter of taking things away and adding a little bit, and then I am where I want to be. I really wish that the quality of the video was better, but that's on me. So this is something where, and you can see these on my website. Oh, thank you, Neha. Thank you for putting up the website. It's so nice of you. This is like water animal life, you know, what do you call it? Marine wildlife. And it's with oil pastels on top of acrylic. Usually I'm using acrylic paint. If I do use pastels, it's on top. Pencil I do below and on top. this is one of my early pieces after getting back into things. I kind of came up with a little technique on my own. I would put paint on and then I would let it dry a little bit, and the end and the surrounding part is what would dry. And I'd take the middle off, and then I would do this so that it looks like a pop. This is a technique which I'm sure you've seen a lot. Again, it's a lot of palette knife work, and it's just a lot of different kinds of colors. These are, again, on my website. Early on with getting back into things, I got into collage. So this is from magazine. This is from magazine. This is a little bit from magazine. And then that is from magazine. The rest is acrylic paint. So a combination of paint and cutouts. My mom and dad had gone to Japan, and they had a catalog of, I think it was jewelry, handmade jewelry. And the paper of the catalog I really liked. And I had started to do all kinds of my doodles on there. And then I had a bunch of that on the catalog. So I started to cut those out and use those drawings inside of my paintings. This one you can see is a combination of the acrylic and oil pastel. And I don't know if you can tell, it's very hard to tell, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of pencil line inside that are like hard etching, kind of markings and indentation. Some of these pieces I really didn't like at all myself, and then with time they didn't look as bad. Some of them I still really hate, but I just kind of kept them. This is also early. Thank you, Neha. Thank you for sharing the website and the higher resolution. This is one of the earliest pieces I did. It is like, looks like you can't see anything, but these are trees behind my bedroom, outside my bedroom window in the early morning dawn. This is a lot of pink light behind there, and kind of captured it. And I showed Ed, my teacher, and he was like, okay. So this is not really abstract. This is actually kind of representational in a way, although it is abstract. And sorry. This one is also not abstract. It's really light and free, and it's a couple of flowers and the sun. I mean, it is abstract, but it's not very, very abstract. It, again, it's more nature. And this is a size I've done a lot of, but I'll show you. I've done also sort of this size. There's a lot of color differences and gradations to this, but I don't think you can see much. Let's see. There, a little bit more. And this one, it's like these things, I have no idea what I'm doing, and then I kind of just keep maneuvering and going over. And as you might be able to see, there's again a lot of like strong markings inside of the paint, and there is pastel work on top. Thank you so much. Again, these that are kind of looking like landscapes. This one is a collage, which is, it's a lot of stuff underneath, and then there was white all over it, and then I was taking the white off. and then coming back to what was under it. This is a recurring material that I use. It looks like yellow, but really it's gold. And what it is Ferrero Rocher, the chocolates. These are the wrappers, and they are really, really good for gold color. These are cutouts from magazine. The rest of this here is acrylic. Oh, Shannon is has a picture of one of my paintings up. Thank you so much for sharing that, Shannon. That's one of my early pieces. Actually, there's a few tiny little parts in that piece that you can see there, the orange frame that Ed Ramsburg actually painted onto the painting. So it's a little bit of a co-production. This was one of my very earliest pieces. This is the kind of thing I felt most comfortable doing when I got back into things, because like I said, all those years where I wasn't doing much art at all, and I was really absorbed in difficult human rights work, I was always doodling in my notebooks, like in meetings and as I was thinking through things. And so these have the pencil line drawings inside of them. And it was a way for me to bridge that period and what I was already familiar and comfortable with new. The new for me was a lot of color. Ed Ramsburg's work is a lot of color. This again, you can see the Ferrero Rocher wrapper. Okay, these two pieces I'm about to show you, in my own opinion, humble opinion, are two of my better works. And you might be surprised because they look kind of dirty, but these take a lot of, there's a lot going on with them. And I think if you see these in person, you'll know what I mean. There's a lot of layering. There's a lot of paint on here such that the paper is much, much heavier than the other ones. And these are ones that I don't think I would ever sell. Again, I know they don't look like, they might not look like much, but in terms of technique, in terms of work, they were, they took a lot. This one is kind of a similar one to that. There's a lot of depth here in the green, and some, like if you see this in person, you'll see a lot of indentation into the paint. And what I use is the same pencil I use. This is a Papermate mechanical pencil, about the cheapest pencil you can buy. I use this for the actual pencil drawings, and then I take the pencil in so that it's just the tip, and I'll use the tip to make markings into the paint. And I had purchased some metallic paints, like metallic copper, and I used some metallic copper here, and I use metallic gold sometimes, metallic silver. Copper's nice though. This one is just a flower, but again, I think with the lighting, you don't get to see much, but I kind of like this one, you know, you're just kind of doing things. Everything looks really muddy and hazy, and you have no idea where it's going. And then in the end, you add some pieces that give it real composition and meaning. And you realize that maybe all along, you know, there was meaning. You were just finding it. Okay, so switching to a different size. This is one that I did recently. And again, it was an absolute mess until I started to find this little guy. It's kind of like an animal, or kind of like a marine wildlife again. And this is like red space or red water. And I think there's a sense of movement for that little animal or whatever it is. And let me show you, since I just mentioned animal, because this is not an animal, but it is a space person, and a completely different kind of work than what you've seen. As you can tell, like, it's a space guy, and it just came, you know, it just happened. The background is some white and different kinds of paint. And then I used my oil pastels to do it. So you can see. It has a little bit of a sense of character, even though it doesn't really have eyes. And these other large works, you can see a little bit of an extraterrestrial, spacey kind of a feeling about them. This one also, I think, has that vibe of being out with the stars and the planets. This one is a little more soothing, but again, it could be like you're traveling through space. This one is a starship. The white is a starship. These in the large size I have a lot of also. This is a more recent one that is starshipy and green grass at the same time. It's sort of like you're seeing stars, but you're down with the grass at the same time. This is one of my favorite pieces. Again, started out being an absolute mess. In fact, it was a completely other painting. And right here, there are these little protrusions, which I think you can see now. And this right here, same. And they were from the old painting. And so I used the old painting as an underpainting and just kept on going with a whole new thing. Two pieces that feature blue, which I think are kind of interesting. This one is actually a collage in a way, because right here is some gift wrap. Here, some thicker paper that is blue, that was already blue, that I cut and glued. Here, thick paper. This was a woman's, really beautiful woman's shirt with ... red on it, which you can't really see. Yeah, there you can see it now. And the green I painted. This is just a piece of paper again. And then when you get up close to this, you see that throughout it are markings and pencil drawings. So I don't know. It's kind of a mess, but kind of like this one. And another blue guy is this one, which I don't know if you can, there's a lot, it's looking really dark here online, but you can see this on the website and it doesn't look as dark. This is a combo of being very deep in the ocean or being very, very far in space. And so let me see, it seems like, well, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Oh, I was going to show you something else. For me, like it's all on a continuum. So I started to do these little felt, wool felt projects and really enjoy them and really enjoy doing them. It's really part of mindfulness also. And, you know, if I put these on, I think like a white backing and have them in hanging in an interesting way, I think they could make for some interesting hanging products. So I mean, this is the stuff, this is that material where you see the Santa Clauses and the children's toys. Those are this is that material. And again, it's the abstract art, but it's just using a different medium. This one I like. Greens and oranges. This one's a landscape, abstract landscape. Another abstract landscape. And
These look like they have fabric incorporated. Is that fabric?
no, it's all wool felt.
Well, oh, it's felt. Okay. Yeah, great.
All
Beautiful.
wool felt. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And maybe we can go to some questions from our friends who are here. I think I've told you about everything that was in my notes, and I've shown you some paintings. There's a lot more paintings I could show you, but you guys are welcome to make an appointment and come see them in person. Absolutely. I would love that. And to see the website and my Instagram too. My name, you can just search my name on Instagram. Most of my stuff is there.
Wonderful, Mariam. This is so cool to see your work. We have time for some questions. If anyone in the audience has a question or comment for Mariam.
So nice of you to come.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the comments. There's one person who has their hand up.
Neha has a comment or question. Hello, Neha.
Hi, Lisa, and hi, Mariam June. Good evening. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I feel it's actually lovely to see them on your website, and there's some beauty, I feel, especially about holding an art piece, even as it's the nature of light and shadow, it plays. So I just loved seeing them in different sizes, and also like your sketchwork and colors, how they come together. So I wanted to ask you, is it like, do you plan your work, or is it like free writing, or are there some works which are more planned, or do you have a dream like this spaceship is coming, or are they like very much in the moment? I just love how surreal, and they just have this beautiful quality to them, which is, it's actually hard to express in words, as can be with art sometimes. It just feels very otherworldly, surreal, and stunning, and I love
Thank
them.
you, Neha. Thank you for supporting me. And if it wasn't for Neha, I wouldn't be here in so many ways. And I'm really deeply grateful to Neha for that. Above all, for friendship. A good question. I think almost all the time there is no plan. There is every now and then there is a plan. I had, for example, I actually sold them. I might have sold them all already. I decided that I was going, this was all through COVID, lots of time. They were about this size paper, but more rectangular. And I did a dozen of them. And I said, okay, I'm going to just pick 3 colors, and I'm going to use only the palette knife. And I'm only going to really like make 3 marks. I mean, I wasn't that disciplined about it, but really, and that's all I did. That was like a plan, but that's pretty rare for me. So most of the time, and this one was kind of a plan because it wasn't really a plan, but it kind of became more deliberate, because when you're using pastel like that, you can't just move it around. It's like mark, mark, mark. But almost everything else I do, 90% of the time, it's got all these layers underneath, and no one knows what that top final thing is going to be in the end. And people say, so where are the mistakes? What do how do you make your mistakes? I'm like, it's all a mistake. The whole thing is one big mistake, full of little mistakes. It's just, which mistake do you want to keep? And which mistake are you comfortable with having? And I find that, I think a lot of artists, have this. There are many, many metaphors as I'm working and doing my artwork. And one of them is that, just enjoy. If you're not enjoying, it's really not, none of it is worth it. And the other is just go through the process and don't worry, because in the end, things will come together. And another is to try something different and new. I mean, something Ed has taught us is that when you're looking at a piece of work, when you're looking at it, it will talk to you, it will speak to you, and it will tell you what the next color should be. So don't impose yourself too much on your experience. Look at your experience, think through what it is that life is handing you, and react to it rather than impose yourself on it. So I think that I've learned that from the art also. Let's see, do we have any other questions? Thank you so much for that good one, Neha.
Thank you for answering. I feel it's also so poetic. It's all a mistake. I feel all of it. These are like so meditative, what you were saying. They should all become Mariam's poem. Maybe I'll write it.
Amazing poet. In addition to being an amazing painter and visual artist and installation artist, Neha is just a gorgeous, gorgeous poet, and such a pleasure to listen to, because her own talking is also very poetic. I don't know if my friend Shannon is still here.
Yes.
Miss
Thank
Shannon.
you, Neha. Shannon Moore.
Let's see if Shannon wants to ask anything or say something.
Hi there, Mariam. I just wanted to say I really enjoyed the description of the process, how everything was a mistake, because
It's
it
true.
allows for kind of full expression of yourself without judgment. And I think that a lot of times in art we get caught up in, is it good or is it not good? And I'm sure in some settings that's super valuable, but like fundamentally for the creative process, it's very stifling. And just being able to allow yourself to kind of discover yourself through your art is something that I admire about you. And there's an obvious depth in your work. It's not superficial, even though you play with light and color. There's a realness to it that I appreciate a lot. Sorry, that's not a question.
Shannon is the dearest friend anyone could ask for. We have the most genuine bond, and I treasure her. She's just someone who occupies my heart. And Shannon is also an artist. And I really appreciate the support that she's given me also. She has a number of my pieces in her home. It says something here from Shannon. I love how you described hearing a sound when your painting starts to come together. It's true. I hear something. Sometimes, this was COVID, sometimes I'd be like, get up and dance a little bit and come back and finish the painting, because I was like, okay, I'm hearing it. It's great you allow whatever comes out and really make it deliberate towards the end. Yeah, like, figure out what you have first before you want to get it to the end point so much. Just have a little bit of patience with it, like with life. When I was younger, I felt like I was trying to approximate something. And to be honest, a lot of that is because of bad instruction. Teachers who feel like they've got to get you somewhere. And Ed, he gets you somewhere by letting you go. My teacher's teacher, let's see here. Okay, so you guys are familiar with his name is Mai Vodin. You're familiar with I'll have a hard time pronouncing his name. The Miracle of Mindfulness guy, Chinyat Han, I think his name is, something like that. I pardon me for not getting it right. Mai Vodin is Ed's teacher, passed away, Vietnamese artist. Mai Vodin did all of the paintings that are in the Miracle of Mindfulness and all those mindfulness books by really the top Vietnamese Buddhist. And so it's an amazing thing. I mean, I grew up in Frederick, Maryland. I've gone back to Frederick, Maryland because I love it for its just purity and authenticity and peacefulness. Shannon, by the way, is my friend from childhood in Frederick. And then, and of course, you know, we went there from Iran, seeking refuge from Iran in Frederick. And here I am now enmeshed with this artistic tradition from Vietnam. I love that. And I love how there's nothing that you can say that Ed is going to, or paint that Ed is going to think is something's wrong with it. And that's very liberating and empowering. And quite frankly, I need it because the work that I do, the human rights work that I do, is constantly restrictive and with a lot of potential for feeling dark. So I get a lot of light and color in my life through the art. Thank you for writing his name, Lisa. The Buddhist monk, I think, is the most recognized Buddhist monk in America.
Yes. I have a question.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
commented on the wide spectrum of mood and color that you use. And can you talk a little bit about how your paintings are tied to your own mood, or are they intended to convey other themes outside of yourself?
Yeah, I find that what I am doing is where I'm going to, or what I'm aspiring for, or something above or outside of myself rather than the expression of what's inside of me. Because in some of my darkest days, dark, gloomy, alone, confused, I produced some of my most colorful, joyful, open, liberated paintings. So to me, that says that my art is a way for me to reach beyond myself and beyond the material world that I'm living in, or the emotional world even that I'm living in, and to be more than that. I mean, I see that with other artists that are in the popular imagination, you know, like Van Gogh clearly had many, many difficulties, and yet look at the art.
Right.
You know?
Right. So it was so joyous, but he was oftentimes so tormented. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
To
reality.
speak to that, can you talk about how you became an artist? You said it started as a child, and then how did you kind of make that leap to really becoming a full-fledged artist? And what advice might you have for people of varying abilities?
Well, I don't think I'm full-fledged anything. I really don't. I never will feel that way. But the thing that made things come forward, I would say, for me, is great difficulty in life. I was going through a divorce and a lot of difficulties on top of the divorce. And I was walking in downtown Frederick where I absolutely adore. And there is a little shop that is a consignment boutique, art boutique. And I walked in there. I've always loved it there. And I walked in there, and the owner, who's now a friend, started to have a conversation with her. And she's an artist. She's a wonderful artist, and she's also a trauma therapist. And she does art that is about trauma. Beautiful pieces using fabric and embroidery and sewing. And her name is Whitney Dahlberg. And if you want to look her up, Whitney Dahlberg. And Whitney said, oh, take the class that you want to take with Ed Ramsburg. And that opened a whole world to me. And it was just great fortune, because I know that a lot of teachers out there aren't as good as Ed, and they want to get you to approximate something rather than to be yourself. And even if it's not representational or realistic art, even when it's abstract art, it's like they're kind of pushing you or pulling you to a place where they want you to be. Ed is not that way. And he's more about just opening up the restrictions that exist so that the real essence of you and the real essence of that particular piece can come out. Very often we kind of destroy pieces in the middle because it's not going well, and it's almost like just push it towards failure to liberate it, just poof, forget about all this. So covering up a whole half with a new color that is completely, new or alien to the rest of the piece, or turning it upside down and saying, okay, no, gonna do this in a completely different way. So that's what made the difference. Thank you for Whitney Dahlberg's website, Shannon. She's a sweetheart and a wonderful artist. I hope I answered your question.
Great, you did. And we have time for a couple more questions. We have some great comments in the chat. People love your work here. So let me just remove myself. And who else has a question or comment for Mariam before we close? Oh,
We're all set, maybe?
okay, we do have Neha here. Hi, Neha. Were you gonna ask a question? Oh, sorry, you just turned on your you were gonna ask.
Questions. I have so many questions. So I want to ask you, Mariam, it seems like you found such a incredible teacher, right? Which I feel in any discipline, teachers can open up this whole new world. They can also squash somebody's talent. I've also had bad teachers.
Yeah.
So what would you say, like, to those of us who perhaps have not found the right teacher, although they also say, right, when the student is ready, the teacher comes. So like, yeah, just any thoughts on those who may be seeking a teacher and not knowing what kind of teacher is right for me? Because it's true,
Yeah.
what you said about approximations, that is also a poem. It's so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, I got lucky with Ed. I think a lot of it is when you ask other people's opinions about teachers, to be very intuitive and to not be afraid to really listen to what it is they're saying. But I also think that learning from teachers comes in different forms. So I really like certain artists. So spending time with the books of their artwork, I think, is really, really instructive. And even with Ed, but this is part of the magic of his teaching, I'll listen to something he says and I'm just like, no, I'm not going to do that. But that's because it's such a fluid, open, experimental space. It took like I was his student for many months, maybe even more than a year. And I realized that he had been doing this for close to 20 years. And I was kind of shocked because I thought just the way he carries himself in and out of the room and the way he teaches, it just seemed like he just started, just because it was all very fresh. There was nothing that was about, he never says something like, 12 years ago, I taught my students how to do this. There's never any of that. Everything is like right there in the moment. And I just thought, just as I had come into the classroom and I was new at it, with him, that he was new, but no. And he's very humble. And at the same time, he is very sure about what he does, his own style, what he is about. He's selling art to people around the world. He's shown in shows around the world, and he's top notch. And for me, it meant a lot that he's from Frederick, because for me, Frederick, Maryland, where I grew up, is the best experience of my life. It gave me the most. It was formative in all the good ways. Beginner's mind is a treasure. Yes, it is. What I want to do, actually, I'm going to be moving to Frederick soon. What I want to do is take classes in different mediums, different things. So like pottery and sculpture and maybe stained glass, and just try new things, because I think that getting the beginner's mind is important for everything in life. Okay, Lisa, I think we're good. I don't think we have any more questions. I'm really grateful to everybody's patience. I'm grateful to you, Lisa, for hosting and for giving me this opportunity.
Yes, and we are grateful for you, Mariam, for sharing your artistry. It's just wonderful. Please keep us posted of your upcoming exhibitions. And I'm sorry you're moving away, but you're still going to be close by. So we'll be able to stay in touch with you and continue to connect. So thank you again to artist Mariam Memarsadeghi, and to everyone for joining us this evening. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
I'm grateful to everyone who watched this program. Lisa, thank you again, and thank you to the town of Silver Spring.
Yes, thank you. And we will have this up on our YouTube page.